Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how you can search for files on your Mac with Wildcards. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So it's fairly simple to search for files on your Mac, but I'm often asked how you can also use wildcards to search for part of a file name or part of the contents of a file. In most cases you don't need to do anything special to search for wildcards. Here I am in a folder on my Mac and I'm going to use Command F for find. I'm not going to use the search box up here because I want to go right to the more advanced features for what we'll do later on. So I'm going to use Command F. It'll open up a new tab in my case and then I could see I'm going to search for kind as any and I want to change that so I can search for file name and then I'm going to type part of the file name. Now if you look at where we're not searching the entire Mac, just inside the folder where I started. So if I look in this folder here I can see a variety of different files. Let's say I want to find this file right here. I can start searching for the file name and by just typing a few letters I can find it. So as you can see it's already using one of the most important parts of a wildcard search. It's not requiring me to type the entire file name, every single letter. I can type just part of it and it will come up with the result. Now if I were to type even less you can see it gives me more. There are two files here that start with the letter W. Now I could change matches to a few other things. Begins with and ends with are pretty obvious. Let's do begins with. We see that this works in this case. I get these two that have W in it. If I were to search for some other letter you can see it doesn't give me anything. Now what if I were to switch to is? Well then it's going to ask for an exact match. You can see it still doesn't find it. But if I type the entire file name it will find it. Notice it's case insensitive. So it finds it even though there's a capital W in the name but I'm only searching for a lowercase w. Now what's the difference between matches and contains? Well matches is kind of the default Spotlight search. It's going to look by word and try to match from the beginning of each word. So I can start typing the beginning of a word but if I were to type something inside the word it won't find it. However, contains will do just that. And as I said this works per word. So let's go here and add a second word to this file name here. So now if I were to search for the beginning of the second word you can see it finds it. But it won't just find anything in here because I'm using matches. It's going to look at the beginning of the word. So if I look for something inside the word like that or like that it doesn't find it. Only with contains will it find something that actually isn't the beginning of a word. So what if you want to use real wildcards to do more complex searches and maybe even do things like search by case? Well in order to do that you need to speak directly in the language of a Spotlight search. All of this stuff here, filling these out, that's basically creating a piece of code that's then implementing the search. You can skip this and go directly to create that code. And the key to do that is to use a special type of search. I'm going to go to Other here. I'm going to search for raw and there's something called raw query. I'm going to select it but I'm not just going to select it. I'm also going to add it to the menu so it's easy to get to in the future. So now you can see it says raw query and it's actually one of the default items in this list. So a raw query gives me this space here and I can type what I want. Now if I start searching for something like that it's not going to come up with anything. It's not a search term here. It's an actual query. So you have to specify the property you want to search and what you want to search for. In this case we want to search for the file name. And that is in a property called K and then capital M, capital D, item, display, name. And then I need to do equals. Technically I should do two equals but Spotlight will work with either one. And now I could put in quotes or I don't necessarily need to use the quotes but I will anyway. And I could do something like, for instance, and it's not going to find it. It's looking for the wildcard, which is the traditional computer wildcard character, the asterisk. But you can see it still didn't find it because now it's case sensitive. I need to specify capital W if that's what I'm looking for. And there you have it. You can actually make it case insensitive if you want. By after the quote put the letter C for case insensitive. And usually you add the letter D as well. D makes it accent insensitive. So for instance I could put an A with the accent mark there if I wanted to for some reason, and it will still find it. If I take away the D, it won't. Now I could do all sorts of different things. Like for instance, I could search for bat like that. So it's looking for any number of letters followed by BAT followed by any number of letters. If I were to take this away from the beginning, it wouldn't match it because it's looking for something starting with BAT. Now if I did file like that, it doesn't match it. But remember, we have sample file, but it's not looking by word anymore. It's actually looking for the entire name. So it'll find it if I say any letters before, then the letters FILE, and then any letters after, and then C and D to make it case and accent insensitive. So an example of how you might want to use this is notice here I've got some of these images with capital JPG after it. This can happen sometimes. So what if you just want to change these two to be lowercase? And maybe there aren't 3, maybe there are 300 of them. Well, if you did a search for asterisk dot JPG, quote, I'll get the one that's lowercase. But if I search for capital JPG, I'll get the two that are uppercase. It'll ignore the ones that are lowercase. And then I could click in here, select all, go to File, Rename, and do a batch rename of all of those, changing this to that. So that's the basics. But in addition to using something like C and D afterwards to make it case insensitive, there's another one called W. And what W will do is it'll look word for word. So we have that file called sample files. So if I search for F, it's not going to find it. There is nothing that starts with the letter F and then has letters after it. But if I type W, it will find it because now it's going to compare that to every word of the title. Now before I show you some other ways to use wildcards besides with file names, I'm going to show you how to combine several in one raw query. Because you can certainly add another thing here and add another raw query and do it that way. But you can also use things like parentheses, and you can use and or to look for things. So I could do an or, which in this case is 2 straight up and down bars. It's the key above the return key on American keyboards. And I could copy and paste this. Unfortunately, this is a very little field here, but if I paste it a second time, you actually have 2 of these now. I can use the arrow keys to go back and forth. I'm going to take the second one and change this to an S. So now what I'm saying here is if the name starts with W or it starts with S, then show it. So I get all the W's and all the S's. If I change this to 2 ampersands like that, it's an and. So I'm looking for files that start with W and also start with S, which of course is impossible. A file name could only start with one thing. But instead, if I put a wildcard here like asterisk t.txt, I'm going to get files that start with W and end with t.txt, which only this one matches. And you can also use not. Put an exclamation point before any of these things in parentheses and it changes to a not. So it's hard to see here, but there is actually the exclamation point. So it's anything that starts with W and anything that does not end with t.txt. And that's how you get this result. Okay, so names aren't the only thing that you can use wildcards for. For instance, you can use them for tags as well. Instead of using this for name, I can do user tags like that. And what it's going to look for now is any tag that starts with W. Now of course one of the main benefits of a system like Spotlight is you can do much more than file name searching because you can search for the actual content of the file. And that is represented by KMD item text content. So this is going to look for any content that has in it a word that starts with the letter B. I could look for something like FO, and sure enough these have a word like that. Now if I search for something like jumps over, these, which all have that word in them, will show up. But what if I were to take away that? Well, that doesn't work because there's nothing with jump over. But I could put an asterisk there and it will find it. And of course I can remove the C here and it will be case sensitive. So if I have a capital J, it's not going to find those. But what if one of these files didn't have jumps and over right after each other? Like that. Now you can see it doesn't find it. There's no jumps over in the watermelon.txt because it's jumps nearly over. But if I put an asterisk in between it, then it's going to look for jumps followed by any word followed by the word over. So there are a lot of useful things like that that you can do to narrow down your searches using wildcards and raw query. However, there's also a lot you can do using just regular search, using either the matches search to look for words that start with some letters or using contains to find any group of letters in the title or the contents of the document. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.